All right, everybody. The moment you are finally been waiting for, anticipating. I have been in the lab. I have been tossing and turning and deciding who is going to be my final Premier League predictions. Who is going to be the champion this season? Who is going to be playing in the Champions League next season? And who is going to be playing in the relegation zone, aka the championship, next year? All of this is all coming up right here on the Premier League Show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. This is a massive video, guys, on the eve of the Premier League starting up this season for round 4 after the international breaks. And as I promised, I said I'd wait until the end of the transfer window to tell you guys what I believe is going to happen this year in the Premier League. And I've gone back and forth, as you've seen in my previous videos, especially in that top 4 race. Who is there? Who's going to make it? Who's going to not? I've literally gone back and forth in my mind. And I wanted to see after the transfer window to create some clarity. Now, I'm not giving you this prediction until the eve here of the fourth match week, which is around 5.5 hours away from my recording. A, because I had NFL stuff to cover, and B, I just really wanted to make sure that everything is sealed here and that I can give you a great show, a great presentation. But before we get into all of that, make sure that you are liking this video. Make sure you are subscribing to Hotsport. As you see, we have some amazing content. We're trying to build an amazing community all across the globe, fans from all different sports. And I welcome back my Premier League audience for this video. This is going to be set up similarly to the way I did my NFL prediction show, which was only 6 days ago. And so now you will see what I have up my sleeve for the Premier League prediction. Now, we originally meant to have a panel. That didn't quite pan out. So you're just going to get what you really want, which is my opinion, my prediction for the Premier League. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, we are going to begin here with just quickly going to go through positions 18 to 11. Now, you can kind of already see what I'm cooking up here, considering that I've got position 18 as safe. So in the Premier League. So all these teams are safe. This is kind of what makes up, the bottom to middle table that are going to be back next year, in my opinion. So you can see kind of what I'm cooking up here. And so I'm just going to let that boil in the background, and I'm going to let you guys just think about what's going on. For those of you really in tune with the Premier League, you know exactly what I'm up to. But for everybody else, if you don't really get that, I don't know why you'd be watching this video, but if you're just here for education and to learn, maybe just keep yourself curious as to why I only have 18. Why I have the 18th team staying up? And that team avoiding relegation in any other season, that this team in this position would have been going down. But Nottingham Forest have been spared, which is very ironic considering, I'm not going to go too far, but considering the circumstances behind this 18th place thing, Nottingham Forest are not a team that is, I don't know what the word's going to be, but exempt from such issues. I don't even know how I'm going to get away with this before I reveal it, but I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut. And we'll talk about this thing at the very end. All right. In 17th place, Ipswich. Ipswich stay up. I have them. I've given them 3 weeks to look. I've watched for 3 weeks the Premier League games, and my conclusion is that Ipswich Town is a team that I think can stay up in this league. Not by a long stretch, but barely. And again, by every other season, this is the team that barely survives. And in this case, now here I got them at 17th. The Ed Sheeran sponsored Ipswich Town. So Ed, don't worry, you guys are safe. Moving on, 16th, I have Leicester City. Again, a promotion team. Again, they're going to play, in my opinion, according to my predictions, 2 consecutive seasons in the top flight of English football. So I do have Jamie Vardy and Leicester City remaining in the league at 16th. All right, 15th. I've got Wolverhampton Wanderers. They are 15th. Not much I can say here, although yeah, look, it's pretty. Look, I think a lot of people have this team somewhere around about this position. You could really shuffle anyone from, in my opinion, from 12 to 15. They're probably all around the similar level team, and so you know, just by a hair, some of these have been swapped around. And 14th, I have Brentford. They look again; they're down in the zone now, but just because I think losing Ivan Toney is a bit of a big deal. Now, many people can say, look, Brentford were doing all right before Ivan Toney came back in January last year, and that that could be an argument. But I think 14th for a team like Brentford without Ivan Toney is still all right. I can still, we're not flirting with relegation here at 14th, but you're still mid-table. 13th, I have an improved season for Fulham, and maybe this is my Arsenal bias coming in, but I think Emile Smith-Rowe, I think that Reiss Nelson, those are players of Arsenal quality that are not going to be playing for Fulham. Yeah, along with a pretty solid team. I like Fulham at 13. At 12, I have Bournemouth. And again, they could be 12th, they could be 13th, 14th, 15th. I just think at the top, I think this is the team with the most consistency. Obviously, they lost Solanke. They've replaced him with Alvin Nielsen. But from what I've seen, I still think they maintain the levels that they've had before. And now, finally, before we head into the top 10, this is the team that barely missed on the top 10. And they're actually doing really, really well at the moment. And that is Brighton. So I battle between Brighton and the team that I have finishing 10th on this list, back and forth, especially considering the way they've started the season. But it's not an indictment on Brighton. I just like the other team that I have picked 10th a lot. I think that team is going to pick up some steam moving forward. But I think, yeah, look, Brighton's okay. Brighton's done well. They played well against us. I still think that we had them where we wanted to until that red card, but we've had 2 weeks to digress on that one. But yeah, I just think, look, hot start to the season, but we have that many times. And eventually I think they're going to fall into the pack, into the place where they belong on the table. So should we get into the top 10? All right, so my top 10. Without further ado, let's do my top 10. All right, in 10th place, and this is going to do, so we're going to do here 10th to 5th, and then we'll reveal the top 4. So we'll see. Just keep in mind that 6th place is Conference League, and 5th place is Europa League. And again, there's other circumstances where teams win FA Cups and stuff where you could be 7th and make it, but yeah. Let's do this. Net number 10. I've got Crystal Palace making it. Now, again, top 10 in the Premier League for Crystal Palace. I think I've been consistent on this. I have them featured. I think none of this stuff surprises you. The teams that I feature are my top 10 in my regular views and stuff, are my top 10 sides. I think overall, I think Crystal Palace has more quality than than Brighton, excuse me. And I think Oliver Glasner has done an incredible job with Crystal Palace. They've had some tough games to start the season. Let's be perfectly clear about that. They've had to play West Ham. They've had to play who they had to play Chelsea. The shock that obviously you had at the start of the year was when they lost to, who did they lose to again? Was it Brentford that they lost to? And they lost to Brentford in the first game. Yeah, they did. So yeah, that was the shock result, but I just still think we've got 35 games to go in the season, and I like Crystal Palace. They've kept Mark Gahey. They still have Barry Eze. They've got Chalobah from Chelsea. Eddie Nketiah has now joined. And yeah, they've been able to keep some of their main strikers, like Jean-Philippe Mateta. And yeah, again, they talked about the Ichi Kamada. Yeah, I like it. Obviously, I didn't mention in my preview for them. Obviously, Adam Wharton, who featured in the England team, and yeah, I like this team. Who else is Ismail Sarr at Crystal Palace? He is. Ismail Sarr is at Crystal Palace. Will Hughes is at Crystal Palace. They've obviously added Maxime Lacroix to the defense here, and who else is? Who's the other guy? Tyreek Mitchell, who I do like as well at Crystal Palace, but we're harping on this subject a bit too long. Moving on to the team I have finishing ninth, Newcastle United. Now, again, this list is this is where you're going to start to get juicy, because sometimes, these teams have aspirations of top 6, top 4, but some of them just end up missing out. And look, Newcastle had some impressive win against Spurs, and so they have the ability to do that. And so, I was tempted to do this. I've shifted this list around so many times, but I think ultimately of the teams that I have, I've got Newcastle finishing in the 9th position. In 8th position. What? What did I do? I'm just joking. Again, this is an interesting case study here. And originally, I had Man United at one point in my top 4. I had them then out of my top 4, then back into my top 4. I really like some of the transfers that they've made, but as I made in my most recent reaction after they lost to Liverpool, and I've had time for it to marinate as well, I just think that Man United with Erik ten Hag, it doesn't matter who they buy, I just think they look like a mess. They look like something's ready to implode. I don't know how much longer Ten Hag stays in the job. Do they pull the plug on him? There's just so many unknowns here with Man United. And again, I just kept dropping them down this list. So I've been making this list, and as I was ready to finalize my list, I was like, really? Did they going to finish above this team? Are they really going to finish above this team? And I just kept dropping them down. So they almost went a drop from transfer deadline day. I'm pretty sure on transfer deadline day, I said I had Man United 4th. So from transfer deadline day, where everything has been finalized, and that includes Ugarte, who they brought in. But then I saw the way they played Liverpool, and then granted, Ugarte didn't play against Liverpool, but what difference is he going to make now that the ship is sinking? You're going to add one extra sailor onto the boat and expect it to make a difference, expect it to balance the boat. I just think this is a boat that's sinking, and there's just too much chaos, and you still have a lot of work to do. Now, it's not to say, look, the future is bright. I think they're really dealing with a lot of the issues in the background. It's just the biggest issue that they needed to do, if they were going to fix everything, was start fresh. And maybe they're putting that off until they could find a better candidate, and maybe they just wanted to get Ineos in the building with some, with just some stability, some regularity, consistency in there. They didn't want to change things too much, and eventually maybe they're going to bring in the coach is going to steady it. But I think they've established the ownership group and the hierarchy there. And I can just, and you'll see who I put above them, and you'll see why I kept dropping. And let's move on. At number 7, I have Aston Villa. The team is currently in the top 4. This should not surprise you, as I mentioned in my preview of the Premier League preview show way back when, maybe a month ago. I said I wasn't as high on Aston Villa, mainly because of some of the players that went out, mainly also because they have to balance Champions League, and I've seen the teams have to play in the Champions League week in and week out, and there's some, I feel like they're going to get caught out. I do. And I did say, okay, well, they played in the Conference League last year with Unai Emery, but the Conference League is not the Champions League, and I should not have done that comparison there. I'm sticking to it. I just think there's nothing against Aston Villa. Again, really, from 4 to 9, it's tough. It's really tough, and you have to, and I keep juggling and switching it back and forth. But after the sample size I've watched of the games, the transfer activity, this is our kind of my conclusion, right? And again, obviously, the way the league is, you're going to see some of the games go by, and I'm going to now put everything in ink. My predictions are like, damn, I got that wrong, and that's just sports. I'm not going to get these predictions 100% right. It's tough. These are easy, but I'm trying to get as close to what I think realistically is as possible. At number 6, I've got West Ham. As I said, I'm bullish on West Ham. Even after, I just watched them get slaughtered by City. Even after their loss on the first week to Villa, even after all that, I still think West Ham are 6th, but they're not top 5. So I just don't think there's going to be one of those teams that are going to sneak in that are going to surprise you this year. I think this season, the top 5 are teams that you'd expect them to be. And holding their spot from last season at number 5 is Tottenham Hotspur. And again, this goes back to that conversation I had about the top 4 that struggle. And here's just the thing. They struggle in the opening game against Leicester away. I think that was a bit of a red flag. Not just quite honestly. Leicester is a team that's come up from the relegation, and again, it's tough, but Spurs should not have let them back into the game. But there's like something about this. It's like a quality about Tottenham that I just can't put my finger on, that just doesn't really feel like it has, the grit, the grind. It's not to do with the manager. I think it's got a lot to do with the playing group. And I still think, even if you were going to ask Ange in a dark room without anybody watching if he likes the playing group, I just don't think he does. I think they're a type of personalities he'd rather have in his locker room, and he's still got some of the old personalities from the previous regimes. And that obviously has shown its ugly head recently. The back end of last season, I think at the beginning of this one as well, the way they performed against Newcastle. And then you also see them eviscerate Everton at home. So it's just an inconsistency, and that's kind of the thing here with Tottenham, with the team that I have in 4th, which I think is going to be obvious to you now, considering the candidates. With Man United, it's just the inconsistency. One week they can look brilliant, the next week they can look like absolutely terrible. And that's what it is. Just FYI, I don't want to have Tottenham missing on the top 4, jinxing their matchup this week, which is the North London derby. I don't mean this. I'm literally not doing this to hate on Spurs. I swear. This is my proper, I've done evaluations, is completely unbiased. I promise this is very unbiased. Okay? Let's move on to the top 4. Let's get into the juicy. Who's been crowned as the 4th place side? Any guesses? Anyone? And this is going to be me eating a lot of crow because I've made fun of this team a lot. But when I've really come down to the crunching, who do I think is going to be the fourth? I've gone with Chelsea. And it's just about when I looked at Tottenham, when I looked at Man United, when I looked at Chelsea over the first 3 games as well. So you have to kind of use the sample size that you've got to help determine this. And I was really real. Banter aside, no agendas. They lost to City, but actually, and as I said in my review, and at the time, I thought they really hung in there and they really gave an accountability to themselves. City are just City, and but for a long time in that game, Chelsea looked like they can hang in there, right? Then they have obviously the 6-2 victory against Wolves. Yeah, they showed you that was absolutely scary. The way they're able in the second half to show up, right? Look, there's inconsistencies, as I said, along the team, because you also look at the result that they follow that up with is by losing to Servette. And then they follow that up with a draw to Crystal Palace. But again, you really look at it, I've got Crystal Palace top 10. So, they've lost to the team that's one of these 3, obviously. They have beaten a team that I have ranked 15th, and they have drawn with a team that I have ranked 10th. So it's compared to Tottenham, who for instance, drew with a team I have ranked 16th. Again, they've beaten the team a team that obviously has not been listed so far. That I think a lot of people are going to destroy Everton this season. But then they played a team that I have ranked 9th, and they got outplayed once more. So when you look at Man United's results, right? Man United on the opening day, they beat Fulham again, but barely. It was 1-0. Fulham is the team that I've ranked 13th, right? The second game, they lose to the team that I've ranked 11th. And then they absolutely show that they are not the level against the team that I have ranked 3rd. I might as well say it. So Liverpool is the team that I've ranked 3rd. I think this is no surprise to anybody. One thing I will say, and this is hard for me to say, but I have to be really clear. I've been worried about Arsenal. Nothing to do with the result, as I've made very, very clear. The result against Brighton, I think, is 100% down to that referee thing, and Arsenal had the game under control, and that sending off completely changed the complexion of the game. It's not to do with that. I think it's got to do with right now, obviously, the Martin Odegaard situation. It's got to do with just I feel like Arsenal have no midfield at the moment, and the margins are in all of these, especially in these top 3 teams, are slim, as you saw last year, that these 3 teams race to the finish line. And there are periods of the season, if you're losing players, it can affect you. So I did toy. Arsenal could go anywhere from 1 to 3. I did toy with the idea. But at the end of the day, I think that Arsenal's results are still going to be a lot more consistent with Liverpool's result. But have I crowned Arsenal the champions or not? Even after you see this, you're going to get into my next thing, and we might as well just crown him because everyone knows. On points, and this I need to get up to this point before I move on to my big bombshell. On points, I think Man City have looked absolutely incredible, and they don't even have some of their best players available to them. Arsenal are going through a bit of an injury crisis at the moment. And I've tried and I've tried and I've tried to put Arsenal at first. I really have. You guys all know. You all know that I really have. But I just have to be honest, and if I'm putting my name onto a paper, it has to be a paper that I think is going to be the most accurate in predictions. And I do have, according to points, Man City winning their 5th straight title. Absolutely historical. But this is where the twist comes, and we will see at the end. We will come back to this. But look, Man City have looked good. They look, even with the injuries. Arsenal need, I don't know how, look, and I'm going to get into Anton's picks in a different segment. Not on this video, but watch out to Instagram and TikTok for Anton's picks. But I am worried about Arsenal at the moment with the injury issues. And the margins are slim. They've already dropped 2 points behind City in the race. They had to play Tottenham and they have to go to Man City. Both get to go to Tottenham and Man City the next 2 weeks. And with the way Arsenal is right now, they could create a massive hole for themselves early. And again, the league is long and things go on, and you can catch up. You can catch up on the margins. And I do have in my predictions Arsenal making a historical run in terms of club history, winning run. I'm in the middle part of this season because of how the schedule opens up for them. But at the moment, I can't, on evidence, what I've seen from Man City, deny them. They just look really, really good. But things are going to get complicated and things are going to get messy from this point forward. So we might as well get into the relegation here. And here are my relegation teams. As you see, there are still 3. What? You relegated 18. I think you kind of know where I'm going for. You should, at this point, know what I'm going for. Relegated at the 20th place is Southampton. From what I've watched, I see a team that is clearly the worst team in the Premier League. They even put Aaron Ramsdale in goal against Brentford 2 weeks ago, and Aaron looks absolutely lost. Southampton look like a mess. Yeah, I just think this is a team that I not built to be in the Premier League anymore. I mean, I don't know what's happened to them because, gone are the days of Mane and Van Dijk, Graziano Pella, James Ward-Prowse, the crew. Back when Poch used to manage them and stuff, right? Lallana. Those days are behind them. They are. And the version that they have right at the moment is not giving convincing, even with a top flight keeper like Ramsdale. Well, let's see. Maybe that was just, he was not ready for that game. But even Rambo, I don't think can save Southampton. And I have them finishing 20th. At 19th, I have Everton. Everton just looks bad. Everyone's been ripping through them. And they just don't seem like they have any factors that can save them at the moment. They don't look good in attack. They don't look good in defense. And that clearly doesn't means that they don't look good in midfield. They just look bad. They look very beatable. And even with a manager like Sean Dyche, the playing group he has is just not good enough. Look at the results that they've gone through this season. They've been ripped through. Even in the game last week, when it looked like they were going to come back, I think they were up, what? Was it up? Were they 3-0 up? And the wheels fell off. The wheels fell completely off. I'm pretty sure, was it against Bournemouth, I think. Let me check the opponent. Some of these, just the teams, the matchups. It was against Bournemouth. There you go. They were 2-0 up, Everton, and cruising. And the wheels fell completely off. And after the results that they saw against Brighton, against Spurs, mixed with that, this is just a team that just you can't hold it together. I think this is the year finally And I think they've been flirting with it for the last few years, but I think finally this is the year that Everton get relegated. And so here we go. Who's the third team that I have going down? I'm about to explode the internet. For the first time in the history of professional sports, I gotta forget the Premier League. Professional sports. Let's get this out of the way. I have a team winning the Premier League and next season falling down to be in the championship. What? How is that even possible, you ask? How is that even possible, you ask? And this is just me. Maybe having fun. Maybe this is hopium. But I really feel from the bottom of my gut, and I could be left to look silly, but I also want to get ahead of this. I think that they're going to lose their court case, the 115 charges. I think there's going to be a points deduction, and I think that they are also going to get relegated. There's going to be, at the moment, their form looks strong, but the cases begin on Monday, and look, they may continue to perform even after the verdict. Just for spirit, they're going to continue to play, and because of the quality they have. They're still going to be, as I said, continue to play to the form that could potentially be Premier League winners. Again, now the second place, the champion thing can come into dispute. It really depends on the results of the court case. What are the punishments? I really would like to know what the punishments are potentially before everything is resolved. That would be really good to know. So at least we could know what are the punishments that they would have if they were to be guilty before the verdict. But I guess it really depends on how bad this is. The Premier League going to continue to keep us waiting on this issue. Pep was being asked about this at his press conference. And I believe 115 charges is just way too damn much. There's no smoke without fire. I've no city have gotten away with this on many occasions. La Liga president just came out, and that's what Pep was talking about, saying he believes that City will be relegated. And this is a man who owns the league. He thinks there's precedent. I didn't use the word relegate, but for them to get charged, for them to get convicted of the charges. And I think this is going to happen. Now, that leaves the champion into dispute. Now, I would hate this to either be the way that Arsenal win the league. I'm just going to say it because I know that I can never really sit up there and claim, champion, ole, ole, because people are going to look at the Man City, how much points have been deducted, and be like that means that Arsenal has to be like, let's say it's 20-point deduction. Though you're going to say, Arsenal have to be 21 points better than the City for us to feel like our title is worth it. If it's, I don't know. That's the shitty part about this. Sorry to excuse my français. But what am I supposed to do with what I've just dropped? What am I supposed to do with this? But I just feel like I had to do it. I had to. It's going to happen. I think they're going down. You hear right here, heard it right here on Hawksport, they're going to get charged. It really depends on what the charges are. I believe that with a charge as severe of what Penn City has done, the Empire is going to have to come crashing down. And with it, I've got the Man City playing in the championship next season. And I will be here for it. Let's cross this chair just for 1 second. I will be here for it. Especially if, obviously, the points deduction might might include Arsenal winning the league. I don't know. But I had to be as pragmatic as I could when it came to these predictions, knowing I was going to put Man City down. So I think that on points in total, that's why I kept using the term on points. I still think City is going to have the best record in the league this year. What is it going to be? Is it going to be straight relegation? So like they play out this year, but next year they're sending them down. So they're going to crown them champions and then send them down. Are they going to give them a points deduction plus send them down? Is it just a points deduction? I don't know. And by the way, in the scenario, as we can revisit this, in the scenario that I have for Man City's decline here, if it's just a points deduction, then I would have Nottingham Forest being the third team to go down. But again, this gets complicated. It gets messy. But there you go. What do you think? It's all over the joint. I know it's all over the joint in terms of the relegation and the championship race. I mean, in what world are we going to even correlate relegation with title race? This world. And this is going to be, that's why I was so excited for the seasons. This is going to be, I believe, one of the most bizarre seasons ever. And I've mentioned the 115 charges in my previews. This is nothing that I've never pretended that didn't exist. And I have to address it. I have to break the mold. I have to come out here and tell the people what I think. I'm not going to lie to them. A lot of people will make their predictions for this season and act as if this is never going to happen. They're going to full on pick City to win the title. And because it's just not good PR. Premier League channel, or, they talk about, oh, yeah, I think City are primed to win it, blah, 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 blah. But I think in the back of their minds, they know this is a situation that could completely derail their season. Now, obviously, would I like Arsenal to win the title fair and square on points? Absolutely, because I'm not going to – it's going to be really hard. I feel like this is one thing I'm annoyed. And I hear the banter that gets thrown Liverpool's way because they won it in the COVID year and there was no one in the stadium. And the banter that's going to get thrown our way is that, we didn't legitimately win a Premier League title because Man City got relegated. So it makes everything all messy. It really does. But at the end of the day, the crow, the rooster, whatever the term is, the saying is, will come home to roost for Manchester City. So, let me know what you guys all think about this video. I will definitely be diving deep into the comment section. I expect there to be a comment section, considering what I just dropped. I expect there to be a comment section. All right? So we've got two teams going down with Southampton and Everton, plus the punishment for Manchester City, meaning that they are the third team to go down. I have Man City also as my pick for the league. In reserve Arsenal in case this stuff goes down. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Arsenal win the league. Normally have finished with more normal points than Man City throughout the season. I'll be happy. But look, I'm not going to hide from the fact that I think that Man City should become guilty. I've been on this for a very long time. I do think something feels off. But that's the way it is. Let me know what you guys all think. Making sure you're hitting the like button and subscribing, guys. We will be back for our regular weekend routines. Let me just get you guys all caught up. And if you guys are following me at the socials, and you can see our social information here, right? Wait, TikTok, at hotsport.au, Instagram at hotsport.au, obviously on YouTube at hotsport.au. But follow more these two. I mean, obviously, like and subscribe to this one. And follow these two because I drop my Anton's picks on my socials. I drop my match reactions on my socials. But on here, on my YouTube channel, my bread and butter, right here, we'll be back. We've also going to have NFL mixed into this. But we'll be back with another Premier League show Tuesday night. We'll react to what happens, including the North London Derby, which we haven't even really spoken about much on this video. That's going to be discussed more on Anton's picks. I will not mention Anton's picks on this video, so just so you guys can be curious and go to the socials as well. We're trying to build everything here. We're trying to be big on TikTok, big on Instagram, big on YouTube. This is a revolution. As you can see, we've been talking football, NFL football, and talking, Premier League football. Everything's kicking off. NBA is maybe a month and a half, maybe a bit away. So now I have to start preparing for that. Season previews are always so much work. I gotta say, there's so much work, so much research into because the landscape to the league change when players shift over. You have to be up to date with the landscape of all the leagues. But guys, I am rambling on. Enjoy your weekends, guys. I will see you guys at the Premier League on Tuesday, as well as my power rankings show for the NFL, which we are very pumped for. And we will see you guys later. Peace.